Adjustment Board report. Go ahead, Ms. Courtney.
All right, first up, we have the critical shoreline applications. First, we have the 1244 Angus Morrison Road. They're building a single-family dock, and they do have all their state and federal permits, and the board did recommend approval for this.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Parrish,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion, commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's a 4-0 vote, Ms. Jessica.
All right, next we have two rezoning and land use change applications. The first one is for 470 Hickory Hammock Road. They have a 32.97 acre parcel of land that they're going from A2 to R6. And the reason for this change is they have to have 40 acres in A2 to build, and pieces of this was actually sold off to other pieces to make those 40 acres, so they're left with the 32.97. So in order for them to make any type of buildable lots, they have to go to R6, which is one dwelling per 10 acres. And the board did recommend approval for this.
Okay, so this is just taken to a public hearing?
Public
correct?
hearing, that's correct.
Okay.
So move.
All right, we have a motion to
Second.
approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion?
We just setting this up for.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Cool.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, next we have 201 Beaver Road. Is also a request for public hearing to rezone a 50-acre parcel. They're also going from A2 to R6, which is one dwelling per 10 acres. The board did recommend approval to send this for a public hearing.
So moved.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Lockley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's a 4-0 vote.
All right, next we have a final plat application. You guys have seen this one multiple times. It's St. George Bay Phase 2. It's the 4 lots with 1 common area. This is one of the ones that Attorney Schuler had to clarify that we couldn't split out platted lots or something like that, so they had to go for.
They were wanting the board to essentially reform
Yes.
the deed, and
Yes.
the board doesn't have the legal authority. I mean, a judge has the legal authority under proper pleadings in a final hearing to
Yeah.
reform deeds, but the county commission's authority is limited to subdivision plats.
Correct. So this is basically the final step that they're having to do. And the board did recommend approval.
So move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second from Commissioner Parrish. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's a 4-0 vote, unanimous.
Okay. Last on this P and Z agenda, I have the ordinance amendment for, that Mark brought before the board. Is a consideration of request to amend the comp plan to include language to comply with the state's perils of flood requirements in section 163.1378 to FS. It's basically just different lingo that we have to, they send us updates and we have to update the comp plan to meet the state requirements.
It's a mandate, right?
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Lockley,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward. Discussion. Now, this is something that Mr. Currington's been helping us on as far as writing it.
Yes.
This
Yes,
is
sir.
just the last step, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 4-0 vote, unanimous.
The next thing I have, sorry, I didn't mean to go all the way out. Is, if you can recall that we had a public workshop for a possible East Point overlay.
Mm-hmm.
They did have a few comments there, and I kind of did put them in a minutes form. They talked about different things like allowances for storage units with possible restrictions, being built behind commercial storefront, hidden from street view, residential mixed use, should there be a clear definition of what that entails with mixed use, keeping 98 a true commercial district, a true definition of what commercial is within that overlay district, discussion and improvement of the parking regulations as they currently are for commercial, basically asking to make it less restrictive, and then creating a clearly defined area where this overlay district will cover. They were talking about a third workshop, but that's up to the board. What do you think that's?
Well, Attorney Schuler, if we move forward with this, aren't we required to have 2 workshops ourselves on this issue?
No, sir. If you decide to move forward with an overlay, there's some other steps that will have to be taken. Among those steps would be 2 public hearings.
Okay.
And you know, right now, I think one of the issues that's been discussed at the first 2 workshops is we don't really know where they're talking about the overlay. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Right.
target keeps moving, so I'm not really sure
Right.
what the geographic areas are at this
Right.
point, but
Okay.
that's part of the discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. I do think it needs to clearly be defined. I also think that some of these issues that are coming out now by the second workshop are actually things in our zoning code. I don't know that necessarily require an overlay to accomplish, but you know, that's just,
And there was a comment during the second workshop that, the way I understood it, was essentially acknowledging what you just said. There very well may not need to be a need for an overlay. They didn't say it exactly that way, but
right.
But so far, well, anyway, I'm gonna let the process play itself out. I don't wanna
Right.
prejudge anything publicly, but
Right.
there was a comment that reflected your comment about
Yeah.
there may not need to be an overlay.
Just kind of fix
Okay.
up the regulations up that we already have.
Well, as the representative district, I'll just talk with the civic association and see what I can find out, and we'll go from there, if that's okay.
Okay, sounds good to me.
All right, anything else, Ms. Courtney?
That's all I've got, unless you guys have anything for me.
I'm good,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, Commissioners, okay, that wasn't working earlier. So now we come to the RFQ openings for the TDC vendors. I'm going to invite Mr. Solomon, your TDC administrator, up. I will open the packets handed to him. He will name I think you have a sheet in front of you that you could follow along, just to see which ones. I'm asking Attorney Schuler, can we just open them? We'll open it by groups, but make one motion to send all packets to the review committee, which
Yeah, I don't
is,
see there's any problem with that.
okay, cool.
I mean, it's the same review committee for all packages.
All packets, that's correct. And they'll hear all the interviews in one day. Actually, which is actually scheduled for the 28th, Commissioners, just to let you guys know, next Thursday. There's a possibility, there's a schedule conflict with one of the members. If that holds true, I'll have to replace that member because we need to get that done as soon as possible.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I'm scheduling it now, and I'll basically send out an invite to everyone that's submitted an RFQ. I'm gonna send out an invite along with the score sheets so they know what the committee will be scoring them for as they do their 15, 20-minute presentation to review committee. But I'll get that motion from you.
Okay.
Did you guys need me to refresh you on the committee members? It was Ms. Lynn Martina, Mr. Sajal Patel, Mr. Walter Armstead. It was, the city is Commissioner Desmond George, and City of Carabel is Commissioner Tony Millender. That's the 5.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes,
When you say you may have to replace a committee member because of a possible scheduling conflict, what?
Oh,
It's already a person who's been approved by the board. though.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So, yes, I'll have to,
I just wanted that clarified on the record.
yeah, so I'll have to notify the board if we can't get it straightened out.
Well, if
Yeah.
you've got 5 members, as long as you have a quorum, you're good.
Yeah, I'm good, yeah, but
I don't know what you mean by replace.
I really wish I could have all 5, but okay, we'll work on that. All right, Mr. Where did he hide? Oh, come on up, Mr. Solomon. You are today's contestant on The Price is Right. Come on. Okay, so there is one packet. There is one packet I'm going to open up. I'm not sure if it's an RFQ or not. I believe it is the paperwork from Collins Land Management for the airport, but there was nothing on the outside. It came in at the same time, so just to be safe, I didn't, the clerk's office didn't open it up, and I didn't either until today. I know you have that look.
What are the bids for the Collins land clearing supposed to be open?
Oh, this wasn't a bid. This is the paperwork that goes along with us signing the contract this morning for the.
Okay, so if we open it, we're not messing up another.
No, we're not messing up another bid. I apologize. This is part of the supporting documents that allow us to sign that contract
Okay, that's
that I
fine.
got the board approved this morning. I think they emailed everything, but commissioners, I wanted to make sure, and I was trying to be rather safe than sorry here.
I saw you with a pair of scissors just a second ago.
I know, look at me.
What's this?
Work smarter, not harder.
Yep, work smarter, not harder. Just for your view, Collins Land Services. That's part of the documentation for the airport project. Okay. Now that we know that is true, let's move on. So first on the list, oh, yes, sir. First on the list is the internet marketing, and John's role will be, I'll open them up. He will name the company and see if we can figure out where they're from, in case anyone has a question. John, I know this is new for you and putting you in something you don't usually have to do, but hey, needed the help. There you go. Basically, you're telling them the name of the group and if, on the address, where they're from.
Okay, get the guy that can't see. This is a 2K Web Group, 35 Island Drive, Suite 6, East Point, Florida.
And again, we're going over the internet marketing RFQs. Put that back. Oh, you just leave it there. I'll hand this one to you. There you go, sir.
Michael Yelvington, 337 Meadow Ridge Drive, Tallahassee, Florida.
Who is that?
Michael Yelvington.
Again, commissioners, this is for the internet. God bless you. RFQ. He doesn't address, you might have to look further. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Patty Ford, 2100 Q Street, Sacramento, California.
California?
Yes, sir.
Damn. A long way.
All right. Whoa. There you go, sir. This is fancy.
Thought those were some steak knives.
EVOC Advertising from Lake Mary, Florida.
And
So that's it for internet stuff, right? Okay.
and I know on your list, commissioners, there was one that we could not identify from the outside. I guess we figured out which one that was.
Yeah, I didn't look at the list.
Yes, yeah. Actually, you can hold that. If I have a pen, we could have filled in the unknown one facing that. Okay,
What happened to the one with the name unknown?
that's, so,
That would be the Michael Yelvington, it looks like,
okay.
the only one that's not on the list already.
You got it down in name unknown.
Thank you, John.
Michael Wilkins.
Okay, so, next is print and general marketing, these RFQs. Commissioners say work smarter, not harder. There you go.
This is King Pig.
King Pig.
Yeah, from East Point, Florida.
go.
This is Bay Media Services from Apalachicola, Florida.
There you go.
JSR Media from Ponte Vedra, Florida.
Say that again.
JSR Media, I think it would be under the one that says
No?
Flamingo
Oh,
magazine.
Okay.
and that's it, we only had three for
Yeah,
print time?
yeah, three. Yeah, the unknown would be the King Pig, it looks like.
Okay. Local radio. We actually only had one. I'll let John read that one out loud. Go, sir.
East Bay Broadcasting, East Point, Florida.
East what?
Yes, sir. East Bay Broadcasting.
East Bay?
Is that's Michael Allen, right? That's Michael Allen. Oyster Radio, okay. And finally, only one for television. There you go, sir.
And it's Forgotten Coast TV from Apalachicola, Florida.
California. Damn.
Thank you very much, sir, for your assistance.
Done with me?
Yep, I think so.
I'll make a motion, we ship these over to the committee. You already got the committee, right?
Yes, sir. And I guess, and a tentative date of Thursday, October 28th.
I'll second.
What day are you trying to clarify, Michael?
No, when you look at me like, I'm sorry, see, Thursday the 27th. Thursday the 27th, that's next Thursday at 10 a.m. here in this room.
October 27th.
October 27th, yeah, geez. October 27th at 10 a.m. right here in this room.
Okay. So we had a motion by Commissioner Lockley, a second by Commissioner Parrish and Commissioner Ward. Any discussion before we vote? We're turning all these over to a review committee for next week.
Yep, for scoring, and basically we'll bring back the scoring sheets to
weeks.
you, and then this board will decide on an awarding.
Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay.
So, sir, I think we're to your report.
Yep. And that begins on page 22, Commissioners. At your last meeting, the board discussed the lack of boat ramps for agricultural leaseholders in the Ball Point State Park updated draft management plan. Chairman Jones and I attended a public open house on Wednesday, that was the following day, at the FSU Marine Lab located at Turkey Point to discuss the management plan and boat ramps. We were able to meet with some of the state agency representatives at this open house and left with the understanding that a boat ramp is still up for discussion. However, it will take a coordinated effort of a few state agencies to accomplish this goal. Mr. Chairman, am I on with that? That's what you got from it also?
That's it.
I recommend that the county submit written comments to the state, which is due tomorrow, requesting that language that states the intent to build a boat ramp on the east side of the county for aquaculture leaseholders is included in the updated management plan. The chairman assisted with a request to ARPC GIS specialists to create a map that indicated the location of all boat ramps in the county, and DAX, also with the chairman's assistant, he found an online map that indicates the location of all leases. I don't think like each particular lease, but in general, the locations.
For the areas, yes.
Yes, of where they are, the areas. I thought I saw something else too with the leases, but I'm looking for that. Both of those maps will be attached to our written comments if the board approves that today. Chairman Jones may have additional comments regarding the open house and the comments we would want to send to the state for these boat ramps.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, it's just like Mr. Morone described. They were fine with the discussion. They were fine, but they didn't know which entity they thought would be best for us to talk to. Division of Forestry owns some land there. The state has them through their Ballpoint State Park. There's other things. But the point I tried to make to them on behalf of this board that we declared together is they own all the land down there. We have an acre and a half. That does not a boat ramp build. There's not sufficient parking. And I think our bigger thing that we tried to emphasize to them, and so when we first got that, like boat ramp was kind of still off the table. They had what they had, this is what they were submitting, and after we persistently said, well, look, this is what you have, but this is also what you have. The state has done it, you've issued these leases, it might not be your specific office, but the state has done it. And there's no source of relief for the county, even though we're being tagged that it's our responsibility. So that's why I supported what Mr. Morone saying. I think we need to send a letter with our comments saying that they haven't finalized this plan yet. They need to include a boat ramp. They own the property, even if it requires moving a road or something. They need to give the relief because they're the ones in position to do so. So.
Okay.
They understand that that's their baby, right? It's their baby.
They do, but they don't.
Yeah.
Because when I was talking to them, they said, well, the property you're talking about belongs to Division of Forestry. I'm so-and-so department. I said, it doesn't matter. You're still state of Florida. I look at you, I see state of Florida. I look at Forestry, I see state of Florida. Doesn't matter if it's FDAX or who it is we're talking to. It's still state. You know, that's kind of some of the deflection we were getting. They were trying to send us this, that, and another, and we've already made that trip a couple of times.
Yep.
You know,
I had multiple calls with Mark, with the state on this matter too,
Yes.
Commissioners.
But they the one who own the water.
yes.
They the one who control who get the leases or who done this or who do that.
Yes.
And then we got to they want us to put out a boat ramp.
I think the benefit, Commissioner, of what we're doing right now is one entity is actually developing this plan. So it gives us someone we can send a letter to, and we know it'll actually be submitted, you know what I'm saying? Instead of sending it to everybody, you know what I mean? We're not,
Yeah.
so that is one benefit, but that's about the only one I found. But I will say, I think this letter also needs to be sent to, Representative Schoaf and Senator Oslin
And the governor.
and the governor.
governor.
Make sure the governor see it, cause he the boss.
Yes,
Okay.
so.
I get it.
Even if they were acting like they wanted to sell land, it would still take them selling land or giving land to the county.
They've
Even if
certainly
we
got-
did have the money and we're trying to develop a boat ramp, there's nowhere for us there to buy. The state owns it all. That's the point I tried to make.
Well, why should we have to buy something for, that's them.
Oh, I
It
understand.
belong to them.
Yeah, that's just what I was trying, the point I was trying to emphasize to them, they own it all. Even if we had money to buy it, you own it. You know what I mean? So it's already in your possession. There's nowhere left for us to buy to actually do what needs doing. So I don't see how it's a county, like it falls back to us.
So I just need a motion to authorize me to write the letter and the comments and authorize the chairman to sign.
Do you have enough direction on how we're saying
Oh,
the
yeah.
comments? Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Pleasure of the board. All right.
so-
We have a motion to approve the writing of this letter by Commissioner Ward,
I second it
second by
with
Commissioner
with a
Lockley.
comment.
Yes, sir, please proceed.
Well, make sure you emphasize strong that this is they own all it. We don't, all we got is a name.
Yep.
Franklin County, I mean, they doing it in Franklin County, but they doing it in the water. Franklin County Commissioner, we don't own no water. We don't do no kind of water work.
I
We
will.
we have to buy out from Apalachicola City. I don't know.
I will.
All right. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Uh,
All opposed? That's unanimous, 4-0.
Item 2, Commissioners, at your September 20th meeting, Commissioner Ward asked that I contact Mr. Wayne Williams of the Seafood Work and Watermen's Association as they were seeking a letter of support from the county. After talking to Mr. Williams, I was able to do letter of support regarding the reopening of the bay, a goal shared by Mr. Williams Association along with other groups. Support today that in my era I released ahead of time.
So move.
I'm sure everybody has seen the letter.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Ward. Do we have a second?
Now I'm in trouble.
Do we have a second to the motion? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Well, do I send a recall to the letter, or how do I
Do
handle that?
something. My name's on it and it can't be there.
Yep,
The recall is the only other option left.
okay. So I sent Mr. Williams a new letter saying that the board is recalling that letter of support. I guess I'm looking at you, Attorney Schuler, just to get clarification.
It's
Who
probably
was the letter
better,
directed to?
it's probably better to have him come and present to the board so we can know what we're trying to support. Because also in the error was me, I signed it thinking it had been an action of this board. and
Yes.
It had not.
Because I asked you to, yes. That was
Yes.
based on my recommendation to you,
So-
yes.
For my part, I apologize.
No, that's all on me, sir. That's all on me, because I asked you. to.
Mike, I'm sorry we're in this quagmire, but I guess like you, the chairman said, he needs to come and present, but is he asking them to turn around and open the bay tomorrow?
No.
I mean, what is he asking for?
okay.
Or is he asking them that as soon as there are protocols, they established protocols that when they were gonna open this bay up, so many bushels per acre, blah, blah, blah. Are we asking that they open it as soon as those protocols are met? Are we trying to get around the protocols that FWC established? What exactly are we trying to do?
So let me explain. I don't know what Mr. Williams is asking for. The manner in which I wrote the letter is that all I stated is that we share the same goal of opening the bay.
I understand.
Not in any particular time, not in any particular urgency. We just want the bay to open to put this industry, the oystermen, back to work.
I mean,
And by saying that, it was my intention, and, the way my message was sent out, that we wouldn't want the bay to open up prior to being able, the oystermen, to go back to work and make a living off of the bay. So that was my intention with the letter, so I don't, to answer your question, Commissioner, I really don't know what Mr. Williams is asking for, and I tried not to tie the county to whatever he is doing, just that we want the bay to open up when it's productive and ready to support the oystermen so they can earn a living. That's it.
yeah, everybody supports that.
Yes.
That's not an issue, but I talked to Mr. Williams myself too.
Mhm.
And it sounded like to me he wanted the bay open tomorrow, and there's plenty of oysters out there, which is not the case. Are there oysters in the bay? Yes. Is it sustainable? Are they gonna go to work for a week and then the bay's raked again and then it shut
Yeah.
right back down? I mean, they won't let you go out there oystering, so I really don't know how, people have determined that, just how many oysters are in the bay. Are there oysters in the bay? I hope there is. Because if they don't, then we have nothing to purify the water coming from down upstream with the pesticides, phosphates, nitrates, fertilizer basically, flowing into our bay out of the South Georgia farms. Without an oysters out there to purify the water, we in for a rude awakening here in Franklin County, Florida, as far as the health and the overall longevity of our bay. Without that oyster being there to filter the water. One oyster will filter 50 gallons of water per day. Well, if there ain't no oysters out there, how do you filter, when you have a river rise, how do you filter all that water? If you don't, all the sediments just settle in the bay, and then you got a polluted bay like some other parts of the country.
Yeah.
And that's a huge concern for me, but I'm not sure exactly, he's saying that we need to open the bay. We all know that. We never wanted it closed.
No.
If they'd closed it sooner, you'd have had a shorter closure. But they didn't.
Yeah.
They sat there and let them catch the little pecans and everything else out of the bay and market those to be sold in half-shell oysters instead of 3-inch oysters. So FWC wasn't enforcing the laws that was on the books, is how we got to where we at today. And if you open the bay and they still don't enforce it, and you know, a lot of this goes back to the oil spill, when the Commissioner of Agriculture stood right there and told us we need to, you know, get the resource out of the bay before the oil settles in the bay, we need to harvest the resource. And that's when everybody started catching these smaller sized oysters, trying to do what the Commissioner of Agriculture directed the people of Franklin County to do, which was harvest the resource. And it's on the board minutes that I told them at that time, if we do this and no oil comes into this bay, we just shot ourselves in the foot. And that mentality has not changed since. It's still, you know, the bay's wide open, get what you can get. They never went back to catching a 3-inch oyster and being enforced the way it should have been, or we wouldn't be in the position that we're in now. There wouldn't have been no need for a 5-year closure. If they'd have used these protocols and procedures they got set up to reopen the bay, if they'd have enforced them back then, the bay would have been closed a long time ago. But it wouldn't have been closed for as long, because it wouldn't have been wiped clean before they finally made the decision to close the bay and protect the resource. So a lot of this goes back to somebody else besides your oystermen and your harvesters. So I'm not sure how Mr. Williams is making the assessment that there's plenty of oysters in the bay. When you can't go out there in an oyster to find out what's in the bay, how does he know? I know there's nothing on the west end of the bay, the Miles area, which used to be a very productive area for oysters in the bay. There's nothing down there. There's a few at Cat Point, which we get in freshwater flows out of East River and Little St. Mark's and St. Mark's, which provides fresh water to that end of the bay. Down there is no rivers or creeks or anything else providing fresh water. So that area down there has not been rebuilt or is not progressing as quickly as some of the places over to the east. You know, I don't know. I mean, I hate to see the chairman sign the letter and didn't get a second.
That's not a chairman,
Mr.
that's
Chairman,
on me.
if I could clarify too, and this is my answer Commissioner Parrish's concerns. I was reached out by Mr. Wayne Williams, and I'm the one that brought up the discussion, so it's my fault too. However, the way it was presented to me was it's not like open the bay now. His intention was he's got meetings scheduled with some people from the governor's office. And he also got a letter from Representative Jason Shove. And in both letters, because I've read both of them, it states that he's not wanting the bay open immediately. It's just a letter of support to say when these criteria are met, whatever the criteria entails, then, and it's feasible, and I think Jason Shove's letter also stated the same, when it's feasible for whatever regulation or rule that they've set forth, then they would be opening the bay back up. But it all goes by what, you know, the regulations that FWC set forth too. Obviously, I don't think he wants it open now, but obviously that's not gonna happen, but he's trying to talk to the people that, from the government's office down, to basically, support his group and their goal of trying to open the bay when it's deemed logical and when it's gonna be, there's going to be oysters out there. Again, like I said, I think I said at the last meeting, some people tell you that there's oysters out there, some people tell you there isn't. You know, I mean, what do you do? Unless you go out there and look for yourself.
And you get locked up for doing that.
So, right.
Because you can't go out there with tongs to check each
Right.
bar out.
Right.
And I agree with that, but the letter that Michael wrote doesn't say that either, because he's saying he didn't know what exactly Mr. Williams wanted. But I walked in on Michael yesterday in his office, and he was catching the devil on the telephone from someone that didn't like that the county wrote this letter.
Yep.
The letter was not specific enough to say, you know, we hear the bay's recovering when it reaches the threshold has been presented or the protocol has been achieved, we would like the bay reopened. I can support that, but I can't support it opening tomorrow. And without the information that Commissioner Ward just presented me, I didn't know what they were asking for.
My thing, you too?
Well, I mean, yeah, for now I am.
Can I talk?
Go ahead. Well, you gotta ask the chairman, but.
Go ahead, you good.
Yeah, I guess my thing is, do I wanna see the bill? Yeah. Do I think it's time for it to be open? No, it's not time. They claim they studying, and they come in and they say this report, you hear on the street, that report. But before we really need to open that bay open, you need to sit down with all the stakeholders. I mean, like, especially them out of Tallahassee, them FWC and whoever gonna be. I mean, cause if you open that bay like she said, like it was, if you ain't got no enforcement or set of rules to enforce, you might well open 2 days and get ready for a big meeting. Or they gonna clean it up, whatever out there. But we need to sit down and say, well, they need to tell us, the people who's doing the study need to come tell us, well, you can open it up and you can go wide open, or either you can open it up and catch 2 bags a day, 3 bags a day. Or, well, we need some findings or something to go by. We ain't got nothing to go by now. They saying there's oysters out there. Ain't nobody told us how many. What we can go by. If you tell them, okay, open the bay. They go out, catch 15 bags a day, and the bay be closed tomorrow because that's all out there, 15 bags. But if they say, y'all can open the bay and it'll be okay for them to catch 5 bags a day, 10 bags a day, 3 bags a day, or whatever they decide after they find it. And then we need, in the beginning, you're gonna need the Marine Patrol to be out there to enforce this. To be riding, or people gonna overdo what they supposed to done. I mean, this was part of the bay closing the last time. When they were catching supposed to get 10 bags, they get 20, 15. So all that need to be set in places. And I want people to go back to work. I was asked, I can't get out there and tell them, but I go out there and cause them. You know, but we need more info. We need more information, and I'm with the people. I want to see them go to work. I'm with them. I'm glad they're willing to go to work. But let's don't kill ourselves. It been shit on one time. We don't need to setting yourself up for a failure again. Let's try to get it right. If we don't, we just gonna they're gonna be in front of the county commission. Ain't no oysters out there again. If you don't do it step by step or go through the processes. Because them people doing that study, they ought to be able to tell us what you can start off catching. I think it's able to get 6 bags, 5 bags, 4 bags, 10 bags. So we just ain't got enough information right now.
Well, there hasn't been any of that discussion so far. If the commission will remember, the last time we had Dr. Brooke here from the APSI group from FSU, we asked her questions, and a lot of the questions we asked her were actually questions only the FWC can answer.
Right.
But they haven't come and talked to us about the bay. Last time they came out, I actually thought they were coming to talk about the bay. They were talking about our bear population, which is fine. We need to talk about the bear population. but we haven't had anybody here from FWC talk to us about the bay.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe what we need to have is have, you know, the FWC come and present something to us so we can get some kind of answers.
Yes.
Or at least what they know. You know what I mean? It might not be the end of it, but they got to give us some kind of update. And maybe hear from Mr. Williams so we can put together a letter with the correct information, you know, and a motion and vote of the board and then sign it and, you know what I mean? Maybe that's what we need to do unless the board thinks differently about it.
Let me add some comments in here.
Yeah.
What FSU is currently trying to do is two or three different things. One thing, they're trying to establish an Apalachicola Bay management plan, which is what a lot of people said the bay needed, from business owners right on down. It has to be managed. In other words, quite frankly, you're not gonna go down here and buy an oyster license and go oystering anymore. That's not happening. They're gonna limit the amount of oystermen that can actually go get a license and go to work on the bay. I don't want no part of that. How you gonna tell James he can go to work, John, you just go find you something else to do? I don't want nothing to do with that.
Right.
And they're gonna also limit the amount of bags you can catch, like you were talking about, Commissioner Lackland. So there's a lot of different things going into that. But one of FSU's main goals, and when we say they're doing a study, FWC applied for $25 million from NIFWIF to restore the bay, plant substrate in the bay. NIFWIF ain't gonna release no $25 million until you have a cost-benefit analysis. In other words, the most cost-effective way to restore the bay. Now, they gave us $14 million. The oystermen did the chilling over here at the foot of the bridge and went and dumped the oyster shells overboard, lime rock, whatever it was, the substrate they were using. They're not gonna do that no more. They want a cost-benefit analysis. What is the most productive, effective, cost-effective way of restoring the substrate in the bay to try to restore the oyster bars? There's 3,000 acres of public oyster bars out there. So they want a cost-benefit analysis. So what FSU is supposed to be doing when we talk about a study is doing sample sites all over the bay. Okay, we put this many shell or substrate in this area on this acre. We did this over here and didn't put quite as much. Over here we put so much. And which way seems to be generating the most effectiveness of restoring these oyster bars. And when they can do that scientifically and say, well, okay, if we did this, and this is the most productive way we found, if we do this on all these bars in Apalachicola Bay, the oysters will come back as being identified as a scientific, quote, study, if you want to call it that. They have to take that information and give it to NIFWIF. They have to look at it and say, okay, I see where you've done several different types of sites, several different cubic yards of clutch or substrate in this area, and this seems to be the most productive. That's the best way to do it. Then they'll turn loose of that $25 million for FWC to start restoring the bay. So that's what's going on behind the scenes that nobody's talking about. And we keep saying we don't want FSU doing all these studies. Well, it ain't so much as doing a study of it. It is a study of the bay, but there's other benefits of what they're supposed to be trying to do to help FWC secure this money to put substrate in the bay to restore the harvestable bars in Apalachicola Bay. So that's what's going on, what they're supposed to be doing. But the people over there in FSU, they don't get to go out there and tong up and see how many oysters in this place or that place. You know, they're not oyster tongers. Shannon goes and helps them some and this and that, but it's basically up to FWC to put divers in the water at some point to go in and examine exactly all these different sample sites that they've done and what's the most cost-efficient way, and present that scientific evidence to NIFWIF in order to get this $25 million. I mean, I'm glad they applied for it. The last meeting I went to on the oysters in Tallahassee, which has been about 3 years ago, the lady from NIFWIF told me they had $38 million set aside for the state of Florida, but FWC or Department of Agriculture has not applied for it. That's for the whole state of Florida. Now, you know, they got other things they have to do in the state of Florida too, so I'm glad to see that they eventually put forth an application for $25 million to help Apalachicola Bay. I was delighted with that. Out of $38 million, we're gonna get 25 to help, or we're trying to get 25 to help restore Apalachicola Bay. But without this cost benefit analysis, NIFWIF ain't gonna turn loose of the money, because they want to spend the money wisely in the most cost-efficient way to help restore Apalachicola Bay. So that's kind of what's going on behind all of this. And I'm like every other commissioner up here. Yeah, I want the bay open, but you have to understand that they don't plant shells in our bay no more. The barge used to come by my fish house down here twice a day, loaded slam full, going out and re-shelling these public bars. So you got substrate there for the spat to attach to keep the bars going. They don't do that no more. My fear is if we ever do get this bay back to where it was, and we allow over-harvesting, it's going to be just like it is today, slick as this tabletop right here, because you're not, and my analogy to that is, I can't keep writing checks on my bank account unless I start making some deposits. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't just draw the bay down and never plant the seed to keep it going. How are we supposed to sustain what we all knew is Apalachicola Bay and a sustainable harvest of Apalachicola oysters without replanting those shells? Now, they done sold the barge, they done sold the tug that pushed the barge. The state has no way to replant the bay anymore.
Oh, interesting.
So, you know, it's a host of issues, long-term issues, and us being here as leaders, it ain't so much looking at today. As leaders, we're supposed to be looking out there and seeing what we want to happen in the future and how do we get from point A today to point B in the future. That's our job as leaders of the county, is that's the way that we should be, have our vision pointed. And I don't know that how are we going to sustain a harvest without the limitations of harvesters, without the limitations of what's taken out of the bay to allow oysters and shells there, you know, to catch the spat and keep the bars going. That's your only hope, because they're not going to plant no more shells in the bay for the spat to attach to keep the bars going. So, you know, it's a lot going on behind the scenes that these people that come here aren't telling you. But, you know, I'm just trying to enlighten the commissioner
And you have.
as to what's going on.
So, let me ask a question though, if I can. I guess from where I'm sitting at what point are we gonna know if they're actually gonna be able to do it or not? Are they gonna wait till we 4.5 years in and then say, well, no, we can't open it 6 months from now, it's just not gonna work? That's
Now,
my
I
only
don't have the
question. You
answer
know
to
what I
that
mean?
question.
At some point, we need to be getting
Because
some answers.
I'm not allowed to go out there and
No,
tongue the different bars and see what's there either, just like
But-
nobody here can or nobody in the public should be.
yeah, but just like the discussions, and they've had them here, talking about, gonna try to make new bars. Well, I got news for you. If Mother Nature can't produce a bar, I don't know that you're gonna get one out in the mud. That's just my thinking, but, you know, my family grew up doing that, just like a lot of families in this community. And good, bad, or indifferent, some of these bars produce a lot more than others have historically. So when you start looking at the scientific data to present to somebody else that's just purely looking at numbers, all these bars are gonna add up, but they didn't 20 years ago. 5 of these bars were major bars and some of them were not so major bars. They didn't produce, they don't produce equally.
Right.
So, you know, I hope they're not saying that they all have to produce equally, or they're not gonna support putting stuff in the bay and trying to actually make it go up.
I don't know, because FDAX has always been a major part of this, and they've
Right.
taken a step back as you come to
Yes,
farm-raised oysters.
right.
They're the ones that had the bars, they're the ones that had the tug. That's FDAX, not FWC. They've taken a major step back and let FWC now handle management of the resource and all this.
Yeah,
So, you know, the whole thing has changed from, as your state
Oh, yeah, it
commissioner,
is.
that's
It
what
is.
it used to be.
yes.
FDAX has taken a strong approach to farm-raised oysters, and
Yes,
to heck with our public bars, the way I look at it.
that's the way.
They're the ones that used to replant the shells. FWC had nothing to do with all that.
Nothing at all.
And another major issue is, as we're talking about this, a lot of people want the whole bay open at one time. Well, the state can't open the whole bar at one time. I mean, the whole bay at one time, because they're controlled, your interstate shellfish commerce is controlled by FDA. Now, the state can do what they want to, but state, if people are getting sick from letting people harvest oysters from an area that shouldn't be harvested at a certain time of the year, then the state's responsible for that. and the state takes over control and does not abide by FDA regulations, and those oysters cannot cross interstate commerce, they cannot cross state lines.
State.
They can't go to Georgia, they can't go to Alabama, because they're not in compliance with FDA regulation. So a lot of this, where they say you can oyster this bar this time of the year, but you can't oyster that bar, has to do with the water quality and everything else, and that's all controlled by FDA. Now, a lot of people go to the state and say, we just want you to open up the whole bay at one time so that everybody ain't harvesting in one area. Well, they can't, but most people don't understand that because a lot of it is mandated to the state by the feds, FDA. And whether or not these oysters can go across state, they can't go to Louisville, they can't go nowhere but in the state of Florida. But then the state of Florida assumes all that. And the state of Florida is not gonna assume that liability.
No, they're not.
So they're not gonna open the bay all at one time, which puts everybody that was oystering concentrated in one area, which is open, but these other bars, huh?
That's not good.
Well, I mean, that's the way it works, though.
Yeah, that's not good.
But that's the way it works.
That's the byproduct.
Yeah,
I mean,
When they
that's-
get through, it looks like it's tabletop.
Right,
They've all
Yes.
been in the same spot.
that's
Not
right.
good.
It's counterproductive.
Which is why I said they're looking at, from what I understand, looking at how many people can go out there and harvest oyster.
I'm sure they are.
And there's not gonna be people happy with that either. But they're trying to establish some kind of Apalachicola Bay management plan so that we don't end up back here
Yeah.
tomorrow like we are today.
And I think I've heard discussions anyway, that they're talking about going back to summer closures like we had years ago.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, I
That's
don't
what
either.
we've
I
done
think
for
it works.
years around here, and everybody just found something else to do, but they knew it was coming, so you got 9 months out of the year to prepare what you're gonna do in the summertime. A lot of people would go shrimping in the summer,
Yes.
oystering in the winter.
Yep.
I mean, my daddy did, and I'd go with him, shrimping in the summer, oystering in the winter. And seafood workers, and then some of them would crab, and some of them would go into building houses or renovating. I mean, everybody had their own little niche, what they would do in the summertime. And that would give the bay a break, when nobody's supposed to be out there oystering, so it's easy to enforce.
Yeah.
I don't know, I haven't been able to attend the meetings.
Well, and also, Commissioner, with the whole bay being open one time, you're asking FWC to have officers basically everywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's that side of it too. So
I
there's a
tell you
lot to it.
what, I don't go along with, if they talking about picking, they ain't gonna let everybody oyster. Well, if they talking about picking, it ain't gonna be fair, it's not gonna be fair. It'll be just like it was the last time.
That's what I said, Commissioner Lockley, I don't want nothing to do with it.
It
Now,
is
you
not
can
gonna
tell
be.
James he can go to work, David, you
Right.
go home. Man,
Yeah.
I don't see how that works, but anyway.
And then they go get somebody, don't know nothing about the oyster, talking about doing the picking. Oysterman going homeward, and they getting a pocket full of money, picking that. I don't like that buddy shit. I mean, excuse me, I don't like that buddy stuff.
Like I told him, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Mm-mm.
They come up with this 10 years ago, and I told them back then, I didn't want nothing to do with it.
Right,
I'm
'cause
not
you
gonna
gonna,
sit here and tell somebody they can go to work, and then you can't
you
go.
gonna
to work.
leave somebody
Huh?
out.
That's a
Somebody
no-win
gonna-
situation.
Mhm.
I don't want nothing to do with it.
But I do think we need some more information
Yeah, we do.
so we can write a letter of support potentially, but we have to have something to base it on.
Yes.
I mean, some of the discussion we had today was a good discussion, I'm glad we had it. It's definitely been productive in my book. But
It is, but I will know that I will send out a recall, basically a letter recalling that original letter until we're able to hear from FWC and Mr. Williams himself with more detailed plans on what he wants to do. I still have to send that letter out.
it'd be better if it was a motion and vote to the board, yeah.
Yes, yes.
But real quickly, they don't wanna come here and tell us Cat Point's doing really well. West end of the Bay ain't doing good. They don't wanna tell you where they're seeing growth and activity at. Because there are people in our community that are out there exploiting that as we speak.
If that falls on them.
That's all on them for not
it's
enforcing.
FWC.
But they don't wanna present we're seeing good growth on this bar and very little on that bar. They don't wanna tell you specifically where all this growth is happening because there's, people are out there at night and everything else. Already catching oysters. So they don't publicly want to disclose where they're seeing expanded growth and all that, so
Yeah.
that's another issue for them.
Attorney Schuler, do I need a motion to send out the recall, what I consider a recall letter, or just automatic since there was no action?
Correct.
Okay.
Any more discussion before we move on? I think we've about discussed it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But that's okay, though. There's been
Yeah.
some good things discussed today.
Yeah.
All right, please proceed, sir.
Okay, let's hope the rest of my report is a lot easier than that. We're all the way to, on page 23 to item 5. We're rated 3 and 4 already. Commissioner Lockley requested a quote for paving, striping, and some repairs to 20th Avenue, Charles Watson is a street, right, Commissioner? Charles Watson Street.
Yeah.
And Avenue I between 5th and 6th Streets and Water Street. The total cost for this change order to the paving contract from Robertson Roberts is $103,600 and will be paid from District 3's paving fund. Commissioner Parrish requested a quote for striping for some of those locations intersecting Highway 98. We talked about those projects, that project at a particular earlier meeting that required a pipe patch and overlay paving. The total cost for that change order is $425 and will be paid from District 4's paving fund. I just need board action to approve those change orders to the paving contract as described.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Lockley, second by Commissioner Parrish. Any discussion?
Yeah, Michael, did they add the whole striping for my district?
Yes, I think in the change order striping is included in your paving, for each road that's being paved. Oh, no, for the whole, I'm sorry, no, they haven't been able to even touch that yet, Commissioner. That's,
Okay, I want that add, I want the whole district striping.
yeah, that's gonna be a separate
Okay,
change
fine.
order because, once again, just like they like to do is ride with you to make sure they understand exactly what you want. I know it's an easy ask, cause you're saying the whole district, but that's just how they operate.
Okay.
So,
I
they're
get
gonna
it.
get with me.
Okay.
Tell them to give me a call.
I sure will.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? That's unanimous.
Item 6, Commissioners, the high school senior class is requesting the use of the courthouse parking lot, as they do every year, as a senior fundraiser from 12 noon on Friday and all day Saturday of the Florida Seafood Festival. They'll coordinate with the clerk regarding staff parking on that Friday, because, there has to be, some people have to come back to work over the courthouse, so they'll work that out. I just need your action to authorize the use of the parking lot.
So moved.
Motion to
Second.
approve by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, Commissioners, item number 7, and it goes to see you guys, good sitting up here today. Recently, I reached out to Judge Schuler and Court Administration about possible changes to dais, or desk, as it's referred to better accommodate the full board during meetings. I think we need more room. We've gotten accustomed to having a little bit more space. Judge Schuler stated that he received complaints regarding the size of the jury box where Royce is over there sitting at the moment. So asked if we could consider increasing the dimension of the jury box with any changes made. I would like to engage Doug Schuler, the architect, to draw some plans and create a cost estimate for this project. Mr. Schuler is aware of the county's bid policy. Do you have any ideas or consideration regarding this project? So let me say this, one of the things we talked about is basically using the length of the room for your new table. So basically, we'll be shifting the room around. The board will be sitting with the back to this wall, facing this way. The benches will turn, kind of walking away from the mic here. We will shift the jury box here, and Commissioner Parson and I were talking about something the other day. Maybe put the clerk, you guys, across there, so you'll be watching the board and be able to still do everything that you do. And these tables will be in front, lower. I'm not sure where we'll put the divider, and then all the benches will be turned around facing the board this way. That's one of the ideas we're looking at. I'll see what else the architect comes up with. But I just want to find a way to make your dais, your desk, longer and elevate it, and also have it set up so that every time the judge needs to use it for court, it's not a clearing of this desk and bringing in his temporary desk. We want to arrange everything so it's good for both, all the time, every time.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Michael, what if contact some of these other courthouses, tell them to send you a picture of how they set up.
Yeah, well, Court Technology was down here, maybe a week and a half ago, and they were explaining, they kind of came up with the idea about shifting the courthouse
Yeah.
because they're telling me about some of the courthouses in Leon.
Right.
Because they start talking about courtroom 1A and 1B. I'm like, how many courtrooms are we talking about here? So apparently Leon has quite a few courtrooms, you know? So yes, and I will ask the architect, if you so allow me to engage him today, for him to look at some other courtrooms or contact other courtrooms to get pictures to see.
good.
You know, and then use that as an inspiration as to how we could move ahead here.
Some of them got, if they got that, I know they got some courtroom this side.
Yeah.
And we go from there. 'Cause
The issue
they
is,
got to be the people, it's just the building.
the issue is very few courtrooms double as a county commission meeting room.
Yes.
Right.
That's the issue. That's what we have to keep, that's what's kind of unique about us.
Right.
Most of
Mr.
these
Chairman,
small.
I don't know how it's gonna work because this building is so long, but it's not that wide. When you turn all these benches around, either some of them's gonna have to go or some of us don't see how it's all gonna work.
Oh, yes, sir, some of it will have to go, but on an average, how many bench, since the use of Zoom, we rarely fill this room. And we will make sure we have to have enough people for court also.
I mean, if you're gonna have something like there where the podium is, so there's some separation between the board and the people in the pews, and they're
Yeah.
not right in your face.
Yeah, you kind of have to,
You know,
yeah.
I don't know how that's gonna work, or that's,
We'll see. And maybe he comes up with a better idea, based on what Commissioner Lockley says about looking at other courtrooms. He might have a,
I mean, he might can do a 3D rendition that you can look at before you finally decide this is how we're gonna do it, and this is what it's gonna look like if we do everything you're talking about. Yeah, I just don't, because it's longer than it is wide, and it just seems like to me we're gonna be like this. And the people are gonna be right there. I mean, there'll be no space between us and the public. And I don't know if that's a good thing either, but, I mean, I'm willing to look at whatever, but
okay.
I'm not saying no, I'm just saying.
Mr. Chairman, they're required to by the judge, the court, whatever the federal agency that runs the courts, don't they have to have it set up a certain way? And there are regulations and guidelines that they have to abide by in order for it to be, what they want?
Yes, so there's certain guy, and that's
Under
where
their
court
guidelines.
admin comes in as part of the planning process. Yes, correct, Commissioner.
So we need a motion to.
Yeah, I just need a motion to engage Doug Schuler. Let's start this process.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lockley. Any more discussion?
Yeah, we either
Yeah.
fix this one or dig in the pocket and build a new one.
Okay.
Gotta do something. I don't know.
What do you need to say?
No, I was letting him finish his discussion. I wasn't trying to cut him off. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, item 8, Commissioners, the FAC Broadband Conference. That's scheduled for Thursday, January 26th and Friday, January 27th at Sawgrass Marriott Resort in Ponte Vedra Beach, St. John County. And I'm going to quote from their FAC's email. This summit will serve as a one-stop education for Florida communities to understand and connect with federal, state, and private resources to begin or continue the process to ensure high-speed connectivity all across the state. I recommend that we approve travel and expenses for Ms. Pat O'Connell and Ms. Courtney Bankston, as we appointed them last meeting or meeting before that, to the county's local technology planning team to attend this conference.
So move.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Lockley,
St. John.
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion?
That's the same time the Fat Cup was going on.
No, the FAC conference is in the end
November?
of November, beginning of
November.
December.
Yeah, this is January of next year, Commissioner.
Oh, okay. All right,
All in favor? Aye.
all right.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Now, the Florida Rural Economic Development Summit, that's going to be held in St. Augustine from December 7th to the 9th. This is not a FAC event. However, Some of this event sponsors are agencies that are county partners, such as Opportunity Florida, Enterprise Florida, Duke Energy, and Career Source. Considering your schedules, are any board member available to attend this? And unfortunately, Commissioners, the early bird deadline ended Friday. There's nothing I could really do about that, so it may cost us more if anybody's able to attend. Just check your schedules and let me know. Again, this is not a FAC one. I just saw it came across my email, and I recognized some of the partners with this, and, we'll see if anybody can. If not, I'm sure they'll have something like this again at some point.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, ethics training, Commissioners, I'm gonna read. So, I still haven't been able to confirm a day. The election is coming up again. That ties, the chairman and Commissioner Ward, their schedule on Saturdays. Do you guys just want me to set this up on your iPads where you can take it at your convenience? You could do an hour a day for a few days, blah, blah, blah. And then it's all automatic. Once you complete it, they'll email me your certificates, and I stick them in your files, and you'll have them and you'll be good to go. As long as you complete it before the end of the year,
Set it up, I'm ready for Saturday, let's go.
set it up on your iPad?
Yes, I'm ready to
Okay.
do it Saturday. I'm ready
All
to
right.
get it out the way.
Everybody else good? Okay, cool, that's what we'll do. Hey, no wake sign installations. Back in 2021, there was a direction from the board to find a contractor to replace some of the no wake signs damaged during Hurricane Michael. As reported, staff tried and tried, and we were unsuccessful in finding a contractor. With the assistance of the sheriff's department, for some strange reason, the sheriff gave me this call, staff found a licensed marine contractor based in Tallahassee that's willing to install the pilings and signs at the two locations. However, Ocklawaha and Creekmore. However, his quote for this project is $15,600, which is greater than the county's $10,000 maximum to require the bids. If the board still wants to proceed with this, I will need some help from Attorney Schuler on how we could proceed since.
I have a question.
Yes, sir?
These are two separate locations, why are there not two separate jobs?
I just ask it because that's how we had done the original advertisement,
Yeah.
that we wanted it done at these two spots. What's the total cost
Well, I
of
have a
doing?
third spot, but
Okay,
I don't know why they're not separate jobs.
I could.
Because one's on one side of the county, one's on the other side of the county.
Yeah, it's just the way it was brought to our attention, and when we do it, now I could break it down into phases or separate
Can Mr.
jobs.
Morrow and I confer and get back with the board at the next
Yes,
meeting?
that'd be fine.
Good, thank you.
That'd be
Thank
fine.
you, sir.
But, after we get through dredging, we don't have any weight signs in these one towns.
Okay,
There are none there. There are no pilings, it's all gone.
okay.
They were there, but they're not there anymore.
Seem like some of these people that build docks around here could put a piling down, all we got to do is get a sign from
Yeah.
Sign Design in East Point and put them up.
Howard could make the signs that we wanted. He has someone on staff that does signs,
Yeah.
but nobody was interested in the time. We tried, Courtney contacted some of the dock companies that she deals with planning and zoning. Everybody was like, time for that. They didn't want to do it, so.
Anyway, y'all are gonna get back to
Okay,
this.
cool. And the last thing is the Duke Energy, that herbicide, I always say, put it on my report, so the public can, if they want a copy of that letter from Duke saying what it is. Sometimes in the past, we have sent this letter to Mr. Eric Lovestrand so that he can offer additional information to the type of herbicide, but he always said it's been pretty safe. I don't know if the board wants me to do that again. It's something you've done in the past, that's as quick as an email, if it matters.
Did you talk about the thing that was on the report?
Yes,
Yeah, it's already in your report.
yes, that letter. Let's say I could forward that letter to Eric. You guys have done that in the past?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know-
Yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
I'm sorry, sir, yes. So I forward it, just so you have US view on it in case the public ever asks, well, did you guys ever check into it? We have something, we did.
Yeah, we
Okay.
need to do that.
I will. Commissioner, that ends my report.
Anyone have anything for Mr. Morone, additional to what we covered? All right. Mr. Schuler, County Attorney, you're up next, sir.
Commissioners, I submitted a information item report to the board. I was not asking for any board direction, but I did want to highlight and invite commentary from the board if you see fit regarding the potential update to the camper/RV ordinance. earlier this summer, the board had authorized me to retain a outside planner, Laura Gutcher Mills, to assist in that potential update. Since that time, I have essentially reconsidered my position on updating the RV camper ordinance enforcement, because it seems to me that potentially having the sheriff's department continue with the enforcement as a second-degree misdemeanor just seems to make more sense to me the more that I've thought about it. But obviously that is a board decision. Your last direction to me was to move forward and discuss a potential update with Ms. Gutcher Mills. So that's an information item today. If the board wants to talk about it and make a decision at a future board meeting, then that's perfectly fine. I've listed in the information item some of my thought processes on the issue concerning the update to the RV enforcement ordinance. Also, as it relates to code enforcement, because at this point, it doesn't seem to me that a decision has been made by the board on code enforcement. That was part of the original discussion on perhaps updating the RV ordinance and then having code enforcement enforce it. So those things all sort of interplay together, but even so, I'll still give it further reconsideration that, perhaps having, law enforcement continue to enforce the camper RV ordinance as it was written in 1982 has some merit for the board to consider. So at this point, I'm referring and have instructed P&Z staff to send all allegations of RV and camper ordinance violations to the sheriff's department for enforcement action unless and until this board makes a different decision. So, with that, I have no further explanation of my report for the board unless you have questions for me.
So, Mr. Malone, we need to have a discussion on our next agenda about code enforcement,
Okay?
because I understand what the attorney's saying, but we have followed every avenue, done everything about violations on a piece of property in East Point, and we're 3 months in and it's still a camper there.
Okay.
So I'm not good with delaying that ordinance, so we need to have that discussion. That's just my thought, not
Okay.
anybody else.
And that's a general discussion you want to have the
Yes,
board?
sir.
Okay.
Yeah, because we need to know if we are gonna move forward with code enforcement, what kind of direction we're gonna take. Because if we're not, then, I'm sure this is not something the sheriff's offices want to take on full time. I mean, parking was an issue when it became an issue all the time. So this is not gonna go away. This is a big, severe issue in Franklin County. And I do think in some senses it's unfair to try to say that they're just gonna need to take care of it because we refuse to.
Mhm.
So, those are just my thoughts. Anyone have anything for Attorney Schuler? All right, Commissioner comments? Are we about commented out?
I think we've done.
I think I kind of took care of that
They were
item
made
with
a
my
couple of them,
report, so
hadn't
yeah.
All right, well, meeting adjourned.